We're with Anne Cavoukian. Anne has submitted a paper in IEEE Potentials for the September-October issue on the unintended consequences of technology. Now, for those of you who may not have heard of Anne Cavoukian, it's very hard not to. Anne was the former Information and Privacy Commissioner for the Canadian province of Ontario, serving very long. I think your incredible longevity in public sector, Anne, is well known to most of us, from 1997 to 2014. And more recently, Ryerson University has snapped you up as their Executive Director of the Privacy and Big Data Institute at Ryerson. So welcome, Anne.
Thank you so much, Katina. I'm delighted to join you today.
And there's a lot of anecdotes I could talk about you. One of them is finding your research and your output from the public sector when you were serving as the Privacy Commissioner and Information Commissioner of Ontario. I mean, every library that I know has your work and has your team's output in it, and I'd waltz through the library, and of course, I'd see Cavoukian and DNA, Cavoukian and genetics, Cavoukian and video surveillance, and much more.
Thank you, Katina.
And it was an incredible period of time that you came into this post. And I think today's discussion and your paper is about an international council you're forming. Dovetails very much onto that. You've laid the foundations with so many other privacy advocates. I could mention Roger Clark, Simon Davies, Catherine Albright,
yes.
So many other people. What do you now hope to achieve?
And let me add to those people you just mentioned. I was just talking to Commissioner David Watts, your Information and Privacy Commissioner of Victoria in Australia, of course, a delightful, brilliant individual. So I love to work with people from all around the world. And the reason for that, and the reason for the International Council I've just formed, is we need to have more voices than obviously just mine, saying that we can have privacy and, not privacy versus security, privacy and public safety, privacy and business interests. You see, Katina, the problem is most of the world seems to be predicated on following the zero-sum model. And zero-sum says you can have an increase in one area, public safety, always to the detriment of another area, privacy, such that the two total to a sum of zero. And in my world, that is unacceptable. And I don't want to suggest that I want privacy to prevail over security or public safety, but nor do I want it to take a hit, and nor does it have to. As you know, I developed something called Privacy by Design many years ago while I was commissioner. And the essence of that was proactively embedding the necessary protections into code, into actual systems, and into design, such that the necessary protective measures are part of the system you're building, and you can have the protections, privacy, and the functionality that was intended to be delivered by that system. So you have to have privacy and, never privacy versus. And I want to make it clear, this is not just an academic construct or a theoretical formulation. We have dozens of papers that we did on this with all the leading tech companies in the world. Think of anyone, any of the big companies, Microsoft, Intel, Oracle, IBM, HP. We partnered with them to show how this can be done. And the reason now I want to form this international council is because I need more attention brought to this by people from all around the world. Now, I should tell you, we've had great success with Privacy by Design. It's been translated into 38 languages, so it truly has a global presence. But what I'm finding is we need more. In the last few years, where there seems to be an increase in terrorist activities, starting with Charlie Hebdo, and then Brussels, beyond Paris, San Bernardino, more recently, Nice, Munich, I'm forgetting many of them, I'm sure. But the problem is, whenever the terrorist activities increase, the pendulum swings back to zero-sum, and people say, okay, forget about privacy, we need public safety. And that's what has motivated me in the past year to say, I've got to do something on a much larger scale. Let's get the voices of my colleagues from all around the world who I know share this view. Let's get those voices speaking out together. And Katina, I've had great success thus far, but it's only starting. We're going to do, leading up to the article that you're kindly publishing in IEEE Journal in September, October, I'm going to do a launch of it then. But we've already got fabulous founding members who have agreed to join. So in Canada, one of our major telcos is called TELUS. The CEO of TELUS has agreed to be a founding member. The CEO of GS1, the CEO of SecureKey, your Commissioner David Watts. In the EU, the Director of Counterterrorism, Kirk de Kirchhoff, he's agreed to join. Several professors from Japan, and I could go on and on. So, and all I've done is just put the word out. I should have said one more thing. I know I'm doing too much talking here. I just came back from chairing a conference in the UK, in London. It's called the SAI Computing Conference. And I was there for 4 days, talking extensively. I gave a keynote on this subject, but I asked all the tech people who were there, the engineers, the computer scientists, I want you to tell me for sure you can do this, because I'm saying you can do it. I've checked it in the past, but I need to confirm that view. Every single person there said, of course we can do it. We're smart. They're confident. That's what you need. But they said the most important thing is we have to be given those instructions at the same time we're giving instructions to write the code for a program or something. So I'm trying to get the word out broadly. Tell everyone we can do public safety and privacy, security and privacy, but we have to conceive this at the same time. We have to get rid of the silos and integrate the work we're doing.
That is just fantastic, and you're leading the way. Privacy by design is just something that you've influenced heavily and created as a term and a theme. We're now seeing literature coming out in terms of security by design, safety by design. So what you've done is actually infiltrated the design principle through our innovation. Could you talk to us about the future of something termed responsible innovation?
And I love that you've raised innovation. Sometimes people think of privacy as standing in the way of innovation, as stifling innovation. And it makes me crazy because I tell them it's the exact opposite. Privacy breeds innovation because you've got to be really smart and responsible and ethical to do both privacy and whatever the functionality is you're hoping to create in terms of your innovation. And I always say, privacy also breeds prosperity. Let's not forget that innovation and prosperity are critical to what we do. We want things to prosper and grow. So not only is privacy essential for freedom and open societies, it is essential to innovation and prosperity. So the opposite of privacy is surveillance, which is the antithesis of privacy. And when you have surveillance, you have innovation shrinking. You have everything going inward. People are looking over their shoulders. They're fearful of being watched. We know this from the historical lessons we've derived from the Third Reich and other historical stories that have just made it clear that innovation shrinks when people fear they're being watched. The kind of blue sky thinking you want for innovations or crazy ideas that you have to feel free to bounce and let fail. You're afraid to do that when you're constantly being watched and surveilled. So we want to get away from that. We want to grow innovation in the most responsible ways by being protective of people's privacy and finding ways to embed those protections so that you can innovate like crazy. As you know, I head up an institute called the Privacy and Big Data Institute here at Ryerson University in Toronto. And the reason it's privacy and big data is we don't want to stand in the way of data analytics and all of the inspirations and amazing research that will abound from big data and other tools. But we have to find ways to ensure that privacy is respected in that process. And we can do that. There are amazing, very strong de-identification protocols that you can combine with a risk of re-identification framework that enables you to have both privacy and data utility. And those are the kinds of innovative tools I'm hoping to grow and get the messaging out.
So that sounds all wonderful. Yes, teaching engineers and information science here at the University of Wollongong, I'm always confronted with ethics, privacy, security issues around the development of new systems like artificial intelligence-based systems, nanotechnology-based systems. It's very hard to convey to engineers, I find, that they must begin their whole ideation and innovation processes understanding these fundamental principles and then go off and innovate. How do you convey that to this group of wonderful, talented, full of people?
So, Katina, you've got to invite me to one of your classes. And let me list a video introduction to your class, because I often do that. And what I start by saying, I say, you are the experts in your field. I am not. Let me tell you about how you can weave privacy into the process so it doesn't come back to bite you. And they look at me, and I give as an example. For example, the world of machine learning is amazing. Machine learning algorithms, artificial intelligence, all of this is the future. But people sometimes think, and sometimes engineers, that there's no bias, there's nothing woven into the language that might reflect certain preferences or certain ideas, and that's what I challenge them on. Because in the United States, at the Federal Trade Commission, they've recently been talking about the tyranny of algorithms and how bias is reflected in the machine learning code that they've been looking at. And they've said that it's been highly biased against certain sectors of society, etc. So I want to say, don't think that machine learning is free from the human perceptions that the individuals coding the algorithms possess. That's why you've got to be aware of the ethical issues, the views you possess. Why do we care about privacy? And I'll give a couple of very simple examples. I would say privacy is not about having something to hide. It's about personal control. It's about the individual to whom the information relates being able to have exercise some control over the uses of their data, because it's their data. And then I explain to them how context is so critical to that decision. And usually, it's the data subject who knows the context associated with their data. So these are some of the things I try to relay. And then I say, you are the brilliant minds who are coding the machine learning and the AI, and I applaud you. I just want you to think of this at the beginning, and that way it'll steer you away from problems later on. Because I don't want them to have problems. And what they need to understand, if what they're doing includes personally identifiable data in the output, it's going to come back to bite them, because that data will then be subject to abuse. There are like millions of cases of identity theft and data breaches that come back to bite you. Avoid all that and embed the necessary code into your design from the outset.
What's changed, Nan, since you became the first information and privacy commissioner of Ontario? What's changed in terms of technology and in that period of time today? What have you seen? Is technology really different than it was in 1997?
Well, I dare say this because it's going to just age me enormously. But when I was first started in '87, we're talking pre-World Wide Web. I mean, the web was just starting, and the internet, massive use of the internet was just starting. So all of these things were just, everybody was so excited. It was like the Wild West. Everyone was embracing this. Then a few years later, all the problems arose because no one was taking a look at them. So what's happened in my time, in terms of what's changed, is, and I say this is one of the negatives, is there's been such massive growth in technology that people have been thinking, I guess we got to say goodbye to privacy. All these developments are overtaking it. That's what I challenge constantly. So the latest thing, the Internet of Things, which will be amazing, of course, and that's like the new Wild West. But if you don't embed privacy proactively into the design of that, you're going to lose the game. The genie's going to leave the bottle. You have to embed it at the time of the design stage, writing the code. And it's not hard to do as long as it's on your radar. That's another reason I'm doing this international council. I want everyone to put it on the code writer's radar, that we can do this. We can have both. And Katina, don't think I'm kidding myself. I know I'm like the David versus the massive Goliath of people saying, forget about privacy. But you know how that story turned out.
Yes.
But I don't want to slay Goliath. I want to embrace them in a dance. I want it to be privacy and functionality. I want us both to coexist very happily together.
I think that's a definite battle ahead. But I think it is the and. I'm looking at the same thing, humans and machines. When I'm looking at human augmentation, I'm not saying versus machines. I'm saying and machines. Because that's a given. We had a special issue in society about two issues ago. That was humans and machines, not versus. And that's a very critical point.
Wonderful.
And something that strikes me, and I love that you speak to David Watts. I was working with him in 2012, I think, to come out with social media policing policy. And David very forward was leading. He was a commissioner for law enforcement data at that time. And he understands the delicate balance between the police information access, suspects, criminalization, and you know this intimately. I mean, you have knowledge PhD and PhD, right? Psychology as a background and an art. You understand the importance of all this data together. When it needs to be used, and it's used fast, and it stops national security breaches. But on that point, I think in the past, something that privacy communities down has been the silo kind of existing in a border, in a country, in a region. And so I have friends all over the world who belong to an NGO, or belong to a few people coming together for a consumer advocacy group. How can we get across the message that in this world that we're living today, we must break down the borders because everything is transnational? What are your strategies for that?
I couldn't agree with you more. I point to the mistakes that have happened when we haven't done that. For example, in the Brussels terrorist activity, they had been sent information from Paris or vice versa, and relating to potential attacks, and they didn't act on it, or it went to a particular department who didn't share it with another department. And the same thing happened, in San Bernardino. We can point to countless examples of where information did exist, but either wasn't acted upon or was in a particular siloed category. We have to get rid of the silos and engage in information sharing relating to legitimate law enforcement activity. And that's why I tell law enforcement, I work with law enforcement, intelligence agencies, we're not opposed to what you do. But what I'm opposed to is the massive bulk surveillance. Let's surveil everybody, the fishing expeditions, because who knows what we may find. I'm opposed to that. If you have reasonable and probable grounds to believe that some activity, unlawful activity, may be taking place, by all means, get a warrant and go after that. You will easily get a warrant in this day and age. There's no problem. But you have to have some reasonable grounds to do so. The other counter-argument to the fishing expedition surveillance of the populace at large is it doesn't work, because what you end up doing is you do have this massive fishing expedition and you're trying to find the tiny fraction of potential terrorists, a very difficult task. What you usually will end up with is a large number of what are called false positives. People who are identified falsely as a potential terrorist, as a hit. Can you imagine their lives until they can clear their names? It's a nightmare. And when I was commissioner, I encountered that. People would come to me and say, oh my God, I've been put on a no-fly list, for example. I haven't done anything wrong. How do I get myself off the list? It's so hard to clear yourself of something like that. So that's the other problem with the massive bulk fishing exercise of surveillance. It doesn't work, and it puts hundreds of, probably thousands of people at risk because of false positives. So let's forget that model and go after where we have some actual leads, where you have some reason to believe, even a soft reason to believe, that someone may be connected to something else. Pursue that by all means.
I was looking at that very concept in the UK when I was studying my transnational crime work. And 1 in 11 UK citizens have their DNA profile stored in the National DNA database. And over 30% of black ethnic minorities have their DNA stored between the ages of 16 and 28. And you think to yourself, well, that means that they can correlate DNA evidence, everybody, because how it works statistically. And they use the concept of dragnet and blanket surveillance. Of course, that's exactly what you're fighting against. Like for this 0.001% of needle in a haystack we're trying to find, everyone suffers in the pains of surveillance. In terms of an international body, Anne, how can we come together? Is there a way to register or enlist your new council? What are you thinking? Because I would love to see these silos, which are really plastic, broken down and coming together to share their knowledge.
Katina, I'm so glad you asked. So first of all, I'm going to recruit you as a member right away to the National Council. I would be honored. And you can tell anyone who's listening if they just send me an email. And they're not committing to anything other than sharing the messaging and conveying the messaging that you can have privacy and functionality. It's the abandonment of zero sum and embracing multiple positive functionalities. So they can send me an email. Let me just tell you, I've got 3 objectives, if I can just read them out to you. They're written down because I didn't want to get it wrong. So the 3 goals of the council are to educate everyone, businesses, governments, politicians, media, public systems, that we can and must engineer for both privacy and security. The second one is we want to create policy templates that can show how privacy can be applied to technologies in this digital age. And the third one is to foster technology innovation in academic institutions around the world to foster privacy and public safety, as well as privacy and business interests and big data analytics, without sacrificing either privacy or security. And we're hoping over time we'll get funding for some of these research efforts, but we're trying to get people excited about this as opposed to thinking of privacy as a negative. I want to make privacy a positive brand that you can associate with whatever you're interested in, public safety, engineering, business interests. And you know, they say it takes a village. It takes a lot of people to get something like this going. I'm an N of 1. I'm doing this on my own. But I've had so much interest already just in speaking about it, like I'm speaking to you. And so any of the people who are listening, if they would be interested, I would love them to send me an email. I'll send them, there's already been an article that's been written in Privacy Law Watch and Bloomberg News. I can send that to them. The publication that you are kindly publishing my paper in, the IEEE Journal, I would love to get that out. And we'll be doing a press release in September associated with this and a big launch. So I'd love to tell everybody about it and get as many people signed up as I can.
That's fantastic. I think I was stimulated by a talk that I heard yesterday by Diana Bowman from Arizona State University. She's a nano-regulation specialist. And I'm often at ASU. That's wonderful. I'm telling you. It's a very progressive university. Really understands breaking down the silos between faculty having interdisciplinary conversations. And what dawned on me is how important a global institute, a global council, as she was speaking about nanotechnology, EU's regulation, Australia's regulation, US's regulation. It's all different. Companies today have to label their products or regulate very different manners across jurisdictions and across markets. Is that one of the things you think is going to help companies overcome?
I want very much to do that because it's challenging enough dealing with the regulations in one jurisdiction and then having to figure out how do they differ in another, etc. I think I'm ideally situated to do that. Let me give you one indication why. In the European Union, for the first time ever, a new law has been passed called the General Data Protection Regulation. The reason that this is a huge development is the following. It's one overarching law that will be replaced replacing the 28 separate privacy acts of the 28 member countries of the EU. So those are all going to be vanished, gone, replaced by this one overarching law. That in itself is huge. And for the first time in this new law is the actual language, the words privacy by design, data protection by design, and privacy is the default for my privacy by design framework. So for the first time, that framework of design is actually in a new regulation, which is going to have very, very long-standing effect. So what I'd love to tell people around the world is here's how you can comply with this regulation and regulations virtually all around the world by following a privacy by design framework. I can help you achieve that. It's not that hard, and it's really getting the mindset of let's do this proactively at the outset of the development of a new technology or a program or an initiative. Let's embed it into the code right from the beginning, proactively to prevent the harms from arising. That way, you can be assured of privacy as the default setting and whatever the functionality, the intended goal of the program is. Win-win, that's what it's all about.
Thank you, Anna. I think it's an incredible achievement that your terms are being used in legislation. And yes, the supranational law actually taking the EU is wonderful. It's a wonderful coming together of a definition. And you know, I'm from industry and I have a background in telecommunications engineering. And when I came into the academic sector, I was challenged by a great number of people of why I was continuing to work with the private sector as an academic, especially specializing in science and ethics. And what do you say to those critics say, well, you're just going to bed with the Goliath or the lion or these things. How do you understand these stigma?
What I would say, Katina, is you expect me to ignore Goliath? You expect me to be completely separated from reality? Are you kidding me? Even when I was privacy commissioner, I used to say treat privacy as a business issue, not a compliance issue. Don't just view it as regulatory compliance. If you treat it as a business issue and make it work for you, for your business, then not only will your customers thank you because you're embedding privacy into their business interest, you will thank me as a business because it will give you a competitive advantage. It will enable you to deliver whatever your intended product or service is and assure your customers that their privacy is going to be respected and strongly protected. Win-win. That's what I want. I don't want to get into war with these people. I want to bring them into the fold and get them to understand the value and the benefit of privacy, both to freedom and to prosperity.
I think on that point, inspiring way to finish. I've got to tell you a small anecdote before we part ways. It's when husband and Michael met you for the first time in person in Montreal at the Privacy Commissioners Conference. And you were at the elevator, and Michael said, Dr. Cavoukian. And all of a sudden, one phone went, the other went, and Michael said you were juggling two phones. I don't think you've slowed down at all. I think you're still probably juggling 10 phones. But he said this woman is amazing, and I agree with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Katina, you're so kind. Thank you so much. Anytime, I've enjoyed this so much. I look forward to hearing from your listeners and working with you. Thank you so much.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.